Hey guys, Emily Muchanti here, and I am back with a video for my new reading intervention teachers. And today we're going to talk about something that is very near and dear to my heart, and quite honestly is really the reason that so many of my programs were so successful. And that is the importance of building a cohesive team for your intervention program. But before we get to it, remember to please like, subscribe, share, leave me a comment, visit my new website, emilymuchanti.com, and see what's going on and how I can help support you in your efforts to have a stellar intervention program. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is why is this so important? Now, we all know that if you are an intervention teacher, you are more than likely a lone wolf, right? You are alone in your endeavors. If you are lucky, you have somebody at the district level or other sites in your district that are doing something similar so that you can actually bounce off ideas. But in most cases, these situations and these programs are very isolated. In some cases, we've got brand new intervention teachers that are really struggling with how to create some cohesion in the school site. And what it really comes down to, in addition to just having some support in your own program, is just cold, hard numbers. If there is only one intervention teacher, then let's say if you were going to use your entire day to work with small groups of students, then you might be able to reach 25, 30 kids, right? At the most. And that all is very dependent on the group size and your schedule. For each additional team member, preferably a very well-trained paraprofessional, you are going to be able to multiply your impact. So it just comes down to numbers. We know, first of all, that tier 1 instruction is most important. And so by all means, we have to kind of set tier 1 instruction up for success. But if you are in a school, let's say around 500, 600 students, I'm going to guess that even with some of the best tier 1 instruction, you're still going to have more than 25 or 30 kids that could really use some extra support. So it just comes down to numbers. It just makes more sense. Otherwise, you're getting into that moral dilemma of who can I service? Who do I have to remove? Who does not qualify? And you're going to have kids that are falling by the wayside because they didn't get what they needed when they needed it. So that is primarily the number one reason that we need to advocate and build strong intervention teams. And when I say advocate, in some cases, you have to be a really squeaky wheel. Now, I am all about making sure that my site leadership is aware of whatever I'm thinking to do and how I want to grow. And so that is the first line of communication, is hopefully you have a really supportive principal and you can have conversations about how the impact of your program can be improved by additional personnel. Okay. Now, the next step for that, hopefully with your administrator, is to start sharing your ideas. And that means attend the school site council meetings. If you can get this into your school site plan, you might have an easier time getting funds allocated. The other thing is visit the school board. Bring in your data. Show the school board what is happening at your site with that intervention program. And at the end of that presentation, explain how the impact of your program, which means the impact on students, can be multiplied exponentially just by adding additional personnel. Okay, that's what we have to do. Now, some of the important aspects of this, it's not just about finding warm bodies to put into your intervention programs. It takes a really unique para that can come into a situation who is willing to learn some of the details and importance of reading instruction, structured reading, and literacy. And so you have to find that person first of all. The next thing you have to do is you have to be able to find the funds to pay for these personnel. And what you can do, because this is one of the biggest challenges, is you got to find the money. And that's not your responsibility as the teacher. If you're an administrator and you're listening, that is your responsibility. So how do you do that? Well, teachers and administrators, again, have to start by advocating for the program. You got to talk to people. You have to make this happen. But one of the things that administrators can do is look at the site budget, the district budget, having those bigger conversations, and consider reallocation of resources. What are you spending money on that you don't need or that is ineffective? Because if you can bring in an additional para, and I'm not talking a full-time para, like 3.5, 4 hours is absolutely perfect. And for each one of those, depending on what it costs in your district, but there are enough places in your budget, perhaps, where you can recoup some of that cost so that you can reallocate those funds, or consider reassigning some of your personnel. Are your classified staff being used in a really effective manner? Does it make sense to put a classified position, a paraprofessional, in a reading lab and being able to then impact more students? You can also consider grants. There are some grants that are out there, whether they're federal grants, state grants, grants even perhaps from IDEA, that you could look into that would help you to find the funds that you need to pay for these support personnel. And then probably the biggest funding source, and this is what we used in my programs, was Title I funding. Title I funding is a federal program that is going to give schools additional resources based on the socioeconomic demographic of your site. And not all schools get this, but many do. And so my program was, the vast majority of it was Title I funded. So consider going into your Title I funds and seeing if you can find some additional resources in order to add personnel in your program so that you can then service more kids. All right. So a couple of things to consider as you are building your team. First of all, if you are new to intervention, you have to really develop your own toolkit first. You have to be gaining knowledge, learning about the science of reading, learning about the effectiveness of small group instruction, learning about those 5 pillars of literacy that are mentioned in the National Reading Panel report, because that is really where our focus is on phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. And when you get stronger in those, then you are going to be able to and need to become a leader in that area, not just in your site, but in your program. So if you have new paras coming in, they are going to look to you for leadership. They are going to look to you for training. If you have a curriculum that you have that is evidence-based and you are wanting your paras to deliver this, then you are going to need to train them. And so that could be a little bit of an uncomfortable situation for some intervention teachers. You have to be willing to take on the role as a personnel manager and a leader. And you are the leader of your program, and you are the leader of literacy at your site. That's really important for you to do. So you can start small. If it's just you right now, just advocate for one additional para. Work with that one para if you can get them, and bring them into your program so that you start kind of developing this team mentality. And each year or two, as funds become available, and hopefully as your administration sees the success of your program really growing because of this direct person and this direct team, then you can start advocating for more. I strongly, or that's not even the right word. I know into my core that the success of the programs that I had was because of the quality of teams that I walked into or I was able to develop myself. We had a site of 600 kids that we serviced, let's see, every single day, about 115 to 130 kids every single day in our intervention. But there were 5 of us. I had 4 paras and myself. And so that was a super impactful program. And it took vision and it took funds and it took personnel, but it was amazing. And the scores in our state and in our county were just not even comparable to those around us. It was amazing. So I know that it can be done. I've seen it, I've done it. Another thing to consider as you are building your program is how you are going to bring these adults, these paras, into the fold, okay? And it really comes with helping to develop some collaboration and some training, and so that they see themselves as a team. It starts with training, but it also starts with kind of some identity of your reading lab. We were the reading divas. You know, I was the queen diva and I had all of my little divas, and my one gentleman was my divo. And so that's what we did. We created an identity. Everybody was so proud of what we were doing. And as a result of that, they wanted the success of this program to shine. They wanted to see their kids grow, and they were invested. And so one of the additional benefits that can come from you having a team, and this is if you've got general ed teachers, your classroom teachers that are overwhelmed, of course they all are, right? The assessment piece of all of what they have been asked to do, not all, but some, can be taken from them and placed on the role or on the shoulders of your intervention team. All the universal screening done by the intervention team, all of the progress monitoring done by the intervention team, all of the diagnostic testing done by the intervention team. Data is shared with the teachers and with the administration, the school board, and all of that. But that role is taken off of the shoulders of your teachers so that they can focus on what really they are meant to do, and that's teach the content standards for their grade level. That's what they need to focus on. So this is it is a fight. In some cases, it is a slow process, but it is definitely one that you need to start planning for. If you know that your program and you are capable of more, then I highly suggest that you start the conversation, write up a proposal. Don't forget, I've given you a proposal template in our last video, and I'll link that here because you can modify this proposal to be the proposal for a paraprofessional as well. It's editable, do that. But have those conversations, start building your program. Why? Because there are more kids out there that need you, that you don't have time for. And so fight the good fight, get those people under your belt. Let me know how it goes. Remember to visit emilymuchanti.com. You can see what we're doing. We've got some group coaching situations coming up. So if you'd like to reach out to me, readingdiva06@gmail.com, and we can talk. All right. I hope that was helpful. I would love to hear from you. And until next time, thank you for what you do, and bye for now.